Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Perpetual Chess. We have a player I'm really excited to chat with. I've wanted to interview him for a long time, and I will introduce him in just one moment. Just wanted to give thanks to our sponsor, Chessable.com. Our guest actually just played Sam Shanklin, who also qualified, as our guest did, for the FIDE World Cup, and they had a Grandmaster draw that we may or may not discuss. But anyway, Sam Shanklin has a new course out called the Shanklin Method, relating to the famed Shanklin Rule. What if I do it anyway? It's come up a lot in the conversations over the years here on the podcast, so be sure to check that out, as well as the rest of Chessable's vast catalog. And if you sign up for Chessable Pro to unlock additional features, be sure to use the link in the description. As for our guest, so he's one of Brazil's elite players, 5-time Brazilian champion, 9-time Olympian. When he got the GM title, he was the youngest Brazilian in history to do so. He's got a peak rating of 2653, been top 100 player in the world, and he just qualified for the World Cup for the 8th time in the Continental Tournament down in South America, which I always enjoy following, and this one was no exception. I'm also... One of the reasons I've long wanted to interview our guest is because, from my vantage point, sitting at home in my basement in New Jersey, he's one of the most active Grandmasters in the world. I can never believe he's in so many tournaments all over the world, all the more impressive because he's often coming from South America to get to these tournaments in Europe. So I'm excited to chat about all this and to welcome to the program Grandmaster Alexandr Fier. Welcome, Alex.
Thank you. Thanks for the invitation. It's really nice to be here.
Yeah, excited to chat. Is it okay to call you Alex, by the way, or do you prefer Alexander?
Sure.
Okay.
No,
great.
Alex is good.
And they call you No Fear as well, right?
Yeah, because of the chess style.
Yeah, it's an awesome nickname and fitting. So let's dive in, Alex. So you joined me at a busy time. You just got back from a tournament in the Netherlands. Before that, you were at the Continental. And as I said, you play so much, it boggles the mind. And I was curious how you stay motivated through all these tournaments.
Well, yeah, it's a lot of tournaments. So right now I just came back from the Netherlands, but in any case, next week I'm playing another tournament here in Brazil. So I just keep going. About the motivation, well, let's say I play in this rhythm at least from 20 years ago, maybe 20 years ago. It's so the last 20 years have been more or less like this. Last year, for example, I played 199 classical games.
That's incredible.
Yeah,
Do you know any Grandmasters who play as much as you?
I think Korneev is the most active. But a couple of years ago, FIDE did a list about the most active players, and I was number one in Americas.
Yeah. Not surprising at all. Yeah, I was looking for lists like that. So you must see Korneev like everywhere.
Yeah, we play a couple of tournaments together.
Sorry, go ahead.
No, and you asked about motivation. It's really easy to be motivated when things are going well. No, when we're playing good chess, it's very easy to be looking forward for next tournament. No, the hard thing is to keep motivated when we are playing not so good. And since I play a lot, it's very unstable. No, I play many good tournaments, and a lot of tournaments are awful. These are a bit more like hard moments, but I know it's part of the profession. No?
And so many chess players, every bad tournament they want to quit. Like, do you have that mentality sometimes too?
Yeah. Every hard loss, I think, no, I should be doing something else. Maybe I should be opening a restaurant. I don't know, something like that. But well, next day, it's everything is more or less back to normal again. So
well, I'm sure that Brazil in particular, but all of us are glad that you're able to pick yourself up. And yeah, we struggle with it at the amateur level too. And let's review one of your recent successes. Before the Continental, Alexander, by the way, always keeps his Facebook and his Instagram pretty up to date of his many travels. And before the Continental, you wrote, "Ready for another Continental. In a few hours, the battle for one of 4 World Cup spots begins. Always a tournament full of tension and stress where every victory is essential. 11 rounds in 9 days, and I'm number 10 out of 224 players." So is this tournament, like, given the stakes, given how big an event the World Cup is, how prestigious, how fun it seems from the outside, although people like our mutual friend Axel Bachman have told us it's actually not that fun. But in any event, is that one of the highlights of your year, or at least the most important tournaments of the year for you, Alex?
Yeah, of course. I consider that this tournament it's maybe even more important than the World Cup by itself, because when you're in the World Cup, you're already qualified.
Right.
Still, you're fighting in the matches, but to be there is for me more important than win a match inside the World Cup. So for me, it's the tournament that well, together with the Zono, that is the other qualifier for the World Cup, is the two tournaments that for me every 2 years are the most important. And somehow the Continental Championship from the year before, it's usually not so... I cannot stay so focused compared to the last one, the last chance to qualify.
And how do you do special preparation? I saw an interview with you where you said you play so much that kind of is your preparation in some sense. But a big one like this, where you know there's going to be some other amazing players trying to get those spots, do you do individualized prep, or is it more about getting your mind right before the tournament?
A bit of both, I think. It's hard to prepare against the players, I think, because it's, for me, it's really hard for me to prepare for an opponent if I'm not playing him tomorrow. I know that, for example, I could play Shankland in the Continental Championship, but at home it's hard to get the focus to prepare the way I prepare during the tournament. So I try to look more into my openings to see something different for me to play independent of the opponent. So I try to create kind of a new repertoire for this tournament and for the, well, now I'm using for the next ones too.
Yeah, and I get the impression you play a good amount of openings. Is that fair?
Yeah, well, because okay, nowadays if you play one game, people start to prepare, no? So let's say I decided to play something different. I decided to play King's Indian next week, and I play a couple of tournaments. I play like 5, 6, 7 tournaments in 3 months, and then I have already like 10, 15 games on the King's Indian. So if I stay more 3 months, it's really easy to prepare against me, and I prefer to stay in some place where nobody have it prepared compared to some long preparations of 20 moves. So I prefer to be always like shifting between openings.
Yeah, like a moving target.
But in the other hand, it means that I don't understand the positions most of the time.
I was going to ask about that. So for a Grandmaster, would you say that your opening knowledge is like below average, average, above average, or it depends on the opening?
Well, of course, it depends a bit of the opening, but I consider, compared to the players of my rating, that I'm badly prepared. But I always have like some tricks on my sleeve, some cheap variations for one game that I try to use. Let's say most of the time, I think, nowadays.
And where do you get the ideas for these cheap tricks?
Well, it's hard for me to create something. I'm a bit lazy to create something, because I think nowadays, like, all the engines, they say more or less the same, so it's hard to come up with something new. But I read most of the books and the courses that I can buy or find out, so I'm reading all the time new stuff.
And I guess you have a lot of time on trains, planes, and automobiles to read that stuff.
That's one of the bad parts of being a chess player in South America. I spend long time in planes and trains and buses.
Yeah, I saw on your Facebook, and in 2023, I think you said you'd been to 53 countries. Do you have an updated count? Is it still 53?
I think I've been to Vatican by mistake. And there was one more country that it was first time last year. I don't remember which one. I think I should be around 55 now.
Okay. Your goal should be to catch FM Mike Klein, who recently wrote a post about traveling to his 100th country. But yeah, I get jealous in that sense. But then I used to travel a lot, and I know it's not all it's cracked up to be. I know it gets tiring.
Yeah, for example, just like to come here back to my home, it was like almost 40 hours trip.
Oh my goodness. Wow.
Yeah, because I live in a small town that is not so well connected and far from the airports.
Yeah, so for listeners, we're recording this the day after Alexandr got back from a 40-hour trek. Yeah, and it's June 12th. And you used to live in Georgia, correct? Well, that must have been a little easier.
Yeah, I spent 7 years and a half maybe in Tbilisi. Well, it was closer, but it's still, I mean, it's not so close as you would expect, let's say. So usually it's about 2 hours flight to Istanbul, and from Istanbul then you can go anywhere. But to reach, for example, I don't know, France, it's still with the airports and everything, it goes to half a day almost, no?
And do you ever spend like months at a time in Europe now that you're Brazil based again? Do you go back and forth all the time, or do you have periods where you'll just stay there for, like I said, for a long time?
Yeah, to make some sense regarding to tickets, because it's expensive to go to Europe. I need to play at least a couple of tournaments to be worth it, no? So I think nowadays I believe 3 tournaments is a good number, so I don't get tired. 3 tournaments is okay, and it's sometimes it's enough to be worth the trip. But last year, for example, I spent 3 months from July to October, I think, more or less. And I cannot stay more than 3 months in Europe because of the visa. No, I can stay 3 months, I have 6 months in Europe.
Okay. And I saw on your social media, you're often giving a shout out to Imperial Sports. Are they a sponsor of yours?
Yeah. We are together since February, and it's really nice. They were basically more focused on Counter-Strike. They are a famous Counter-Strike team. So they decided to start with some other sports, and chess was one of their idea. And it's really nice. I really think they're quite good professionals, and I'm really happy to be, well, for the first, one of the first times I get some sponsorship, let's say.
Yeah,
after
that's
30.
awesome. Yeah, well deserved for all the work you've put in. And are you doing streaming in Portuguese in Brazil?
Yeah, well, when I'm not playing, which is not so often,
Yeah.
I try to do some streaming to play Title Tuesday, for example, this kind of stuff. And also I make some lives on the Imperial channel right now, trying to show some games. And it's different, the people who watch my channel and the people who watch the Imperial channel. So I need to focus sometimes in some more basic stuff, but still it's quite fun. People go there and watch it. It's really nice.
That's awesome. And getting back to the Continental, so I was reviewing your tournament quickly. It looked like you got off to a strong start, then Grandmaster draw against Shanklin, right?
Yeah, this game I was trying. Okay, before the tournament, I thought that there are 2 big favorites in the tournament, which are Shanklin and Oparin. So I thought it would be okay to draw with these 2 players and then to try to beat everyone else. But, well, when I saw I was white against him, I said, okay, let's try to prepare something interesting. So I checked my one game ideas and found some interesting stuff. But I was more focused on 5 than Sicilian. I thought that he could go 5. And when he played neither, I didn't have anything well prepared. But I still had one interesting idea. So I played something that I never played before, and he quickly went to some variation that, of course, I didn't check. So I said, okay, let's offer draw and see what he wants. No? So he accepted, and I think it was one of the days with double round. So it was good to rest a bit and to be able to play in the night in good shape.
Yeah, I was going to ask about, I mean, obviously double rounds in particular, but just stamina generally. Like, how do you maintain your energy for all this chess?
Well, one thing that helps is that I don't think too much. I'm a bit of an intuitive player.
If I stop thinking, I'll be at 2600. That's what you're telling me?
Yeah, usually when you think too much, nothing good comes from it. So my games, they last usually like 2.5, 3 hours. And I believe I get less tired than the other players by the end of the tournament.
And do you feel like you just have a really good intuition, or are you just a fast calculator, or both?
Well, it's hard to explain, because actually I don't use a lot of my time, but I'm thinking almost all the time that the opponent is thinking. I'm just quicker to make decisions, I believe. So if the opponent plays something that I was already expecting and already made my mind, I don't see why to spend a lot of time on it after he plays.
Do your opponents ever comment about that? At the amateur level, it's come up on the podcast. Like, we often find it disorienting. Like when we play those kids, who just move instantly. Do your opponents ever say anything about it? About how quickly you play?
Yeah. I hear some commentaries time to time. But also I think they are happy sometimes because of this. I blunder a lot.
But you don't try to change.
Well, I think in the long run, it's still worth it to play. Well, not so quick. Like I mean, some games I finish with more than 1 hour, then it's a bit too much. But if I have like more time than my opponent and I still have time to think when I need to, then I think it's still better than staying with the same time than my opponent. I think in the end, like if you get to time trouble, nobody's a hero, no? So everybody starts to blunder a lot, and then if you have this extra minutes on the clock, it makes a big difference.
So in addition to you just being fairly intuitive player and it comes naturally to play quickly, you do think there's a big tactical advantage to it, like you'll adjust your pacing based on how much your opponent is thinking?
Yes, I think it depends a lot of the opponent. I try to stay with a bit more, or I don't know, let's say half an hour, but it's a really relative number, no? But I think it's nice to have like half an hour than my opponent, and to be comfortable to choose when to slow down. So I don't have any problems to thinking half an hour for a move if I think it's a critical position, and I play my style is quite chaotic. So every time there are things hanging. So without time, it's terrible. I feel terrible to be in the other side with time pressure and my opponent with 1 hour on the clock.
Right, but you're not using the time, so it's almost like you're in time trouble too. But
Yeah.
there's a Georgian grandmaster. I'm drawing a blank on his name, who's famous for moving like instantly. Do you know who?
Kuparadze.
Okay. Have you? Yeah. Thank you. Have you played Kuparadze?
Yeah, strangely we never played a classical game, but we played many rapid and blitz, and well, he's much quicker than me, I think.
Okay.
But also he blunders a lot. So if you find some more deep trick, it's usually something good against him. Against me too.
So if you did play him, you think you'd probably have to concede that he's going to be ahead on the clock?
Yeah, I think so. I think there is no competition on it.
Yeah, it's like in bicycle racing, you have the pace setter, and usually that's going to be you, but in that case you would have to let it go. So you qualified for the World Cup. That's in India this year, right?
Yes, I think they still didn't choose the city, but it will be in India in the end of October.
Okay. And yeah, again, like people I've interviewed, like Grandmaster Hungoski, who's also there, and Axel Bachmann have mentioned it's often in faraway places, and this is no exception. But you really wanted to get in. I know Axel's always a little more ambivalent. He always says he's retired, and then I see him at another tournament. But so do you have like any element of dread with all of the travel and the cost involved of going to the FIDE World Cup in India, or is just sheer excitement when it gets closer?
Yeah, no, and I always think that it's my goal of the year is to qualify for the World Cup, and it's not about the money, and it's okay. The travel it's not so nice to be in India or to go to Azerbaijan last time. It's always in the other side of the world, and okay, you travel like 2 days, and then you arrive there usually like 1 day before, and then you have this time difference, and you play, and sometimes you lose the first match and you go home. No?
Right.
So it's a bit of suffering, but I never had any doubt that I want to go there. I mean, it's as a chess player passionate for chess, I think there is no other option than to try to qualify to the World Cup.
And you're not, it seems like you have a lot of chess players might, like it's come up on the podcast a lot. The conditions are not amazing if you don't make it pretty far in the tournament. Mm-hmm. Some players complain about that. Obviously everyone has their gripes with FIDE, but I understand that there's not infinite money in the world. If they were generating more money, presumably they would pay it out. So you're able to set aside the financial considerations for a tournament like that?
Yeah, I think it's I play a lot of tournaments, but it's rare for me to let's say to, how can I explain? To expect the prizes in the tournament. So if I play at the Continental Championship, I didn't look up the prizes. For me, if I get some money, it's better. But I try to have a kind of life that it holds itself, even if I don't get any prize. So the World Cup, I know that, for example, the first round prize will pay my ticket, let's say, and a bit of the hotel, and it's already good. Like if I go to the second round, then it's extra for me.
Wow, that's an admirable attitude. That's really nice to hear. And I saw that you have a Lee Chess coaches page. Do you do much coaching?
And I never nobody asked me there in the
Oh,
in the
really?
page. But I said, okay, I'm 100% chess player, a tournament chess player. So I try to only focus on it. And if you start to give a lot of lessons, it's hard. You have when you play a tournament, then you have to consider that okay, I'm losing some lessons and I'm losing some money from it. You need to think if it's worth or not to play. And for me, this is something that I want to do when I stop playing so much tournaments. I think there will be some point that I don't want to travel so much, or that I'm playing much worse than now, and then I'm going to change to lessons and courses. But for the moment, I try just to play. I give some few exceptions time to time, but it's nothing.
And it looked like you did a simul in the Netherlands. Is that right? There was a picture that made it look like you were doing a simul.
No, not this time. I did a couple of simuls there, but not this year.
Oh, okay. Sorry. Maybe that was a recent tournament you played in Brazil. I apologize. But you're able to support yourself okay if you're mindful of budgeting and stuff.
Yeah, it's okay. Not enough to be rich, but okay. I can pay my bills and I can pay my trips and I can eat out time to time. So it's enough. I don't have an expensive lifestyle, so I don't need to win a lot of money.
Okay, great attitude. And let's talk about your rise. So you look like you were a top youth player almost from day one in Brazil. To what extent do you attribute your talent as a kid to sort of natural talent as opposed to doing a lot of studying?
I think I always enjoyed studying a lot, so it was never something that it was hard for me. It's hard to find a day that okay, I don't want to look any chess. I always want to look something. And when I was young, I was solving a lot of problems. So I did this block book, which is 2,000 problems, and I did Polgar, which is 5,500. I did Domination of Kasparian, which is 2,500.
Yeah, all the classics.
And,
wow.
yeah, and all these things I did, let's say from 8 to 12. So it was a lot of work, but I think the talent comes from the fact that I always enjoy to do it.
Yeah, I was reviewing a few of your games. You had this game against Navarra in 2015 where you played this Bishop D7 move where you could have taken on F6. Do you remember this?
Yeah, and it was fun because in like a gap of 2-3 years we played 5 times in classical tournaments.
Yeah, and then of course Grandmaster Navarra has been in the news lately. Did you have an opinion about this controversy regarding Kramnik's unfounded cheating accusations against him?
Yeah, I think what he's doing is really wrong, and
Yeah.
I think he's hurting a lot of people with this, and he's not getting punished with it.
Yeah, it's disappointing to see. And
Mhm.
David Navarra, definitely one of the class acts in the chess world. So him in particular. And did you see the blog post that he wrote?
Yes, I saw it, and well, I think except Kramnik, nobody in the world ever had any doubt about Navarra.
Yeah.
Like he's one of the most correct players there are in the world.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and returning to that game, when I saw, I'll put a visual on the YouTube, but the Bishop D7 move, it's one of these where, like, if you consider the move, you can see its power, but especially less experienced players just would never consider it because there's like a sort of natural recapture. And I saw that and I was thinking, I bet he did a lot of endgame studies.
Yeah, no, and the thing is that to enter, for me, I believe that if I enter in all these complications that came before, it's because of this Bishop D7, no? Because if not, the position gets simply too dangerous. And with Navarra, there's something interesting because sometimes you can enter in some really chaotic positions, trusting that he's not gonna play some move because he's gonna see something for me. So he analyzes so much that he sees a lot of resources for his opponent too. That sometimes I don't need to see. I just believe he will see something. So you just trust in the position, and sometimes it works. Sometimes it doesn't, but with him it worked a couple of times.
That's funny. So a position like that, that's very concrete. You know, you mentioned that you generally play fast. You're able to work it out on his time, or is there sort of an element, as you describe, of sort of bluffing and, hoping that he gets to all the truth and it works out in your favor?
No, there is always a lot of bluffing, but well, I try to analyze as maximum as possible. And this game, for example, I think I didn't have a big time advantage because well, there's simply no way to decide so quickly what to play in this kind of positions. So you got to use your time.
Okay.
And it was funny because a couple of months later, I played black against him again, and I said, okay, I'm gonna play the same variation and see if he has something prepared against it. And obviously, he had something really deep prepared. So I played the line, and at some point I see that he starts thinking, and then I realized I mixed the move order. But I was lucky that the position was still okay, and I went out from his preparation, so I managed to draw.
So yeah, it worked out. It seems like it's funny that it seems to work out for you, this sort of a more carefree approach than a lot of the grandmasters that I've interviewed. And so continuing with your development, so again, you're one of the top players, it seems like, from early days. You love chess, so you're studying it a lot. One question I had, some of the South American players I've interviewed have mentioned it was a challenge to even get the books necessarily to study. Was that an issue for you, getting these classic books like Domination and the Polgar book?
No, I was really lucky about that. No, well, not lucky, but both my father and my mother, they play chess. They know how to play chess, and my father he liked to play some tournaments. He was playing like under 20 tournaments and then some opens. He's not strong. He's 1900. But he loves chess a lot. So when I was quite young, when I was 5-6 years old, we had a lot of books at home, and I could just read what I could understand from English and Spanish. In Portuguese, there was almost nothing. There are really few books in Portuguese, but the ones that were translated were also quite good ones, like the 60 Games of Fischer, Smyslov book, and Modern Strategy from Pacman. They chose some good books to translate to Portuguese. So since the beginning, I had a lot of material at home, and then we had like some kind of chess academy in my city, and they had like some other books there too. So I always had material to read.
And you were able to play a good amount? You had people to play against and tournaments to go to without too much trouble?
Yeah, I was living in Curitiba. It's a big city. It has like almost 2 million inhabitants. So they had a club there with many strong players, a lot of FIDE masters. There is some international masters too. And there was this Blitz tournament every Wednesday. And I grew up playing against stronger guys than me and trying to trick them in the Blitz.
Okay.
So it shaped a bit my style to play for tricks because of this.
That's fun. And how's chess doing in Brazil right now? Is there a lot of interest?
I think it's growing, slowly growing. There are more players, there are more tournaments than before. But of course, it's a long way until to a point that it's really good to play chess in Brazil. Still, it's much. I have to go to Europe all the time to play stronger tournaments, no? But I think it's improving. I think last years are quite good for chess. So some new players are coming, and I think the future is bright in Brazil. I think I'm kind of hopeful. No, I think things are gonna be even better in a couple of years.
Great to hear. I know that Rafael Leitao, who I'm sure you know, I've seen you in pictures with him. Yeah, he's doing a lot to promote chess. And one of my interviews with him, he talked about the role that Grandmaster Mecking plays, like just how he's a hero there. And then I was looking through your Facebook. So you had a tournament where you didn't know he was going to play, and then he played. Was this the Brazilian Championship? What tournament was this?
Well, I'm not sure how long it.
A few years back. It wasn't. I think it was a handful of years.
I'm not sure the tournament, but one thing I'm quite sure, I don't like Macking. So
oh, really?
It's a bit hard to talk about him, but yeah, I think he's done a lot of bad things for chess, and he's still the most famous grandmaster in Brazil by far. So it's a bit complicated.
Okay. Yeah, I wasn't aware of that. Certainly, every country has its share of. We have our heroes, and then we have our checkered heroes. You know, great players who are not necessarily admirable in all aspects of the game. So as you continue to progress in chess, when did you decide to pursue chess professionally?
Well, since I started playing quite early, I started to play the tournaments in the club, let's say with 5-6 years old. I never thought about doing anything else. I always thought, okay, I'm gonna be a chess player when I grow up. I never wanted to play football or something like this. But Okay, in Brazil it was hard. No, it's not so easy to be a professional chess player. So I think it changed a bit when I became international master, because well I went to 2200 relatively fast, but then I started to play less tournaments. I spent like 2 years playing quite a few tournaments. So for example, I played the Olympiad and I became international master there. I think I was still K25 at this point. And after this Olympiad, I was 2490 and I became international master. Then I said, okay, no, that's it. I really be a chess player, and I even started a bit the university, but I just left to try to become a grandmaster. And 2 years later, I became a grandmaster, and then okay, it was much easier in terms of conditions for tournaments. No, it makes a big difference. Even if you have the same rating, it's a big difference if you are international master or grandmaster. No.
Okay. What did you study at university?
I started mathematics. It was quite interesting. My mother was a mathematics teacher, so I always liked numbers and exact mathematics, physics, this kind of stuff. I always thought it was really interesting.
Okay, interesting. Because yeah, obviously, like someone like Maxime Legrave is a mathematician.
Hmm.
I feel like there's a lot of musicians and linguists amongst the, like when I interview grandmasters, a lot of their parents also had musical or language backgrounds or both. Do you have any theories about like what other skills correlate most closely with chess ability?
I think maybe this preference for mathematics or arts, or it's a bit of if you believe if chess is more like a sport, arts or science. No? So I think it plays a bit of a role. Yeah, I think it helps in terms of is structuring how to solve problems. So if you have some problem in real life, you can think in a methodic way to find a good solution. Things that other people they are usually, I think, more messy about it.
Mm-hmm.
For me, it helped a lot, of course, to meet people and to see how the world is. Like I saw different cultures and different people, different ways of thinking. No, even okay, I was living in Georgia, that it's quite different comparing to Brazil. So I got a lot of experiences that it's all because of chess, basically.
Amazing. And obviously, you probably do have some sort of linguistic ability based on your English. And I'm guessing you speak Spanish as well. Did you pick up Georgian, or was that or Russian, or that more of a challenge?
Yeah, well, I speak English and Spanish. I understand more or less French and Italian too, but to speak it's harder. Well, when I was there, I was trying to learn some Georgian, but it's very, very complex language. Even the alphabet and the language, they are not similar to anything. So you don't have anything to try to reach Georgian. It's from one thing to another one directly. So I was suffering a lot, and I was managing to survive there with English. So I didn't learn much. I wish I could learn more of Georgian.
Yeah, well, 4 languages that you speak, the 4 or 5 is already it's already a good start. So you never really, I mean, you dropped out of university. How many years were you there?
Almost a month.
So you weren't having fun either, because some people like they don't like to study, but you're around people your age. You know, it can be fun in that way.
No, it was nice. It was a good experience, but I had tournaments to play, and then I never came back.
And how seriously were you? So you love chess. You're playing a lot. Were you putting in long hours studying in those days?
Yes, I think I still study a lot, but the thing is, I have no discipline at all. So I just look what I want whenever I want. But luckily, I want to see a lot of chess all the time. So I think if it was a more methodic study, probably I would be stronger. But still, the way I study it kind of works. So when I am at home, I always sing some chess or playing. I like a lot to play too. And during the tournaments, I think all the preparation. I don't prepare much, but still playing 9 rounds every tournament, like 2 tournaments every month. It goes to some hours too, no? So I'm always every day I'm looking a lot of chess. I think not much less than my young years, I believe.
And obviously we talked about when you have a tough tournament, everyone has thoughts of like, oh, this is brutal. What am I doing to myself? But what about just like your curiosity? Do you ever have periods where you feel like the passion isn't there regardless of the results, or are you always interested in seeing what's happening in the chess world?
Yeah, no, the love remains the same forever. I mean, I always interested. I always like, I wake up, I see what are happening in the tournaments, because in Brazil it's good. We wake up at, let's say, I wake up quite late usually. If I can, I wake up around 10 a.m. and then the tournaments are already happening. People are already playing because of the time zones. So it's already a good start of the day. And I never never spend a week thinking about, no, I don't want to see what's going on. I always want to check what's going on in the tournament. Doesn't matter how good or badly I'm playing.
So an inspiring attitude. And when you're following games, like I'm sure a lot of like your friends and your enemies and everything in between are playing, do you have the engine on, and do you watch in real time or try to look back later? Do you watch broadcasts? I'm curious how you follow all the tournaments going on.
Well, about broadcasts, I watch sometimes, but I don't watch closely. So sometimes I just live in the second screen and I'm doing something else and listening time to time what they're saying. Well, so then I think it's more fun when it's rapid and blitz, because things are going on quicker. I like to watch games in real time when live games are happening. I like more to watch during the game than after, because after the game is much easier to just click forward, and then you see the game like in 30 seconds and you didn't understand anything. And about the engine, it's quite complicated. I believe it's much better if you're not looking to the engine, if the engine is turned off. But in the other hand, it's so practical to just see the number like everybody else does, that it's hard for me to turn off. I try sometimes, but I trust that it would be much more interesting if I could turn it off forever. Since I don't pay so much attention to the games when I'm watching, it's much more practical nowadays, no?
Yeah, you've got a lot of company. We all strive to not use the engine, but
yeah, everybody knows that would be better if we don't look to the engine. No?
Yeah, but only Ivanchuk can do it, as far as we know. And what about, like, you mentioned openings are not really a strength of yours, but to the extent that you are studying openings, like, how do you use engines for that?
Well, most of the time I don't use engines for openings. I just read the material, and I believe that the guys who worked in the book, they were looking to the engines.
Yeah, of course.
So I know I have my favorite authors and I trust them. Sometimes I think it's even better to not look the engine. For example, if I'm looking some tricky line, because I know that if I look to the engine, it won't be happy with it, and then I won't be happy with the position too. And if the guy says that, okay, the position is interesting, it has some good prospects for white, then I just trust and I go to the game with this good feeling that the position is good. I think for me, it's very, very important to trust and believe in your position more than the actual evaluation of the position.
Huh. That's interesting. And who are your favorite authors that you mentioned?
Let's see, about the openings, you said.
Well, let's start with openings, yeah.
Well, I see a lot of Shaparinov, and it's good because he has new stuff every 2 weeks. He has new courses and books, and so it's a lot of things you can read. What else? Niturlis is a really good
yeah, he is.
author too.
Yeah.
And it's funny because he's not an over-the-board player, but he has a good feeling about the positions. So even because for me, I believe it's a completely other world, the correspondence chess, no? So it's hard to know what positions are promising if you're not like really, really strong, no? But he does a very good job on it.
Yeah.
And there are many more. I read a lot of things. I like, let's see what else. Well, there was some years that I was simply following. There are 3 books about d4 from Kornev, not Kornev, but Alexei Kornev, and it was a full repertoire. And I said, okay, I'll just follow it. And I spent like 2-3 years just following this repertoire, and with quite good results. And my opponents knew, I knew that they knew.
Right.
Everybody was, the positions were all equal with a bit of imbalance, and I was understanding this well, and it was enough. I think nowadays it's foolish to try to find some line that wants to give advantage for white.
And you mentioned openings are not a strength of yours for your level, but what about your ability to memorize lines? Like when you look at a book like this Korneev trilogy, like does it take a lot of work for you to remember the lines, or is it more like you get your feet wet and you play so much that you, as you say, you have an understanding?
No, I have a quite good memory, and it's funny because sometimes I have a book, and then I'm searching for some variation in the book, so I'm turning the pages, and then okay, I find it, and I go to the game, and my opponent plays something else, and then sometimes I think, I didn't check this thing, but it was in one of the pages I was turning, and then I kind of remember more or less what was written there. No, it's like nothing like photographic memory, but it's a good memory, and it's something that I trust a lot, and so for example, if I play some quite strong player, I prefer to check quickly like everything he plays, and trust that later I will remember during the game these things that I checked for seconds or a minute. Then try to focus on one or two lines, and of course it's also much quicker to study this way.
Yeah.
It's not fail proof. Sometimes it simply doesn't work, but it works many times, so it's good enough for me.
And do you remember all of your games? Like if I named a random, I mean, the Navarra game is kind of famous, so that wasn't a normal example, but do you remember as much as you play? Could you, like, if I asked you to show me like every game you played last year, would you be able to? Tournament game?
No, but if you show a game that was mine, probably I would remember, because I have, I think, 3,500 classical games in the database, and I have some memory of almost all of them. But if you ask me to show the games from Netherlands, for example, I'm not able to show.
Okay, but if I picked up a position, you could probably show it from there, right?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
So let's not try it, but I think so.
Well, trust me. I mean, me and the people listening, like, we'd feel better if you didn't remember. Because like, when I interview Grandmasters, it's always like they just, you're just able to do things that a lot of people are not able to do. So anything you can do to humanize your abilities is appreciated. But Alexandr, so returning to books, so it sounded like in addition to the opening authors, you mentioned some of the formative books from when you were a kid, but do you keep up with modern chess literature as well?
Yes. Still, I prefer the old books, the pre-engine era, but I still read a lot of books. For example, this trip to Netherlands to Inspire, I was reading Giri's book about his games. I chose this one. A friend of mine, he borrowed the book because it was like a small book to bring in the trip, but it was nice, quite nice games. Well, I really like when it's games of a player. So, for example, one of my favorite recent books by far, it's Navarra's Best Games. It's a fantastic book, and the way he writes it is really impressive too. But well, it's always hard to bring books, no? So I try to buy a lot of things on Forward Chess, and most of my choices is just because it's there. Yeah, and it's more practical to bring.
Yeah, I'm a big fan as well. It's just so much easier to read that way. And again, looking through your Facebook, I thought I saw a picture of you with, I recognize Grandmaster Leteo and Dvoretsky. Did I correctly? And I know when I talked to Raphael, he told a story about training with Dvoretsky, but I'd love to hear your memories of that.
Well, for me, it was really interesting because, first of all, it was during the time of my 18 years old birthday.
So this is before or after you dropped out of university?
During more.
Okay.
And, it was an amazing experience because not only because of Dvoretsky, but it was an amazing place. It was very nice hotel with
Moscow,
swimming pools,
right?
tennis court.
Did you go to Moscow or where was it?
No. The Brazilian training was in Foz do Iguaçu in the waterfalls.
Okay.
So
wow. One of the most beautiful places in the world. Yeah.
We even went to the waterfalls one day. Actually, the Continental Championship was there last month.
I saw that picture. This is Iguazu Falls for listeners who are not familiar. Anyway, go on.
And it was 2 weeks of intensive chess. So we are training, I think, 3 hours in the morning and then lunch and then 4 hours in the afternoon. So it was great. But For me, just the only thing it was a bit strange is it was that it was a training for the Olympiad, and we did it 6 months before the Olympiad. So at the time we played the Olympiad, I didn't remember much of the stuff that we saw there. And it was a lot of calculation, and in a Russian way, for me it was different. I never read Dvoretsky book at this point when I was 18, so I thought it was really, really impressive. And I have one memory that it was hard for me because we had a very complicated study that you have to play against Dvoretsky. So they chose me to play, the Brazilians, they chose me to play against him to try to solve the study. And I had like a half an hour in the clock, and I almost found it, but in one of the last moments I felt for one trick, and the endgame was draw. And I had to do like 10 or 15 push-ups because of this. That was the punishment.
Did everyone have to do the push-ups or just...
No, just me.
That doesn't
I think
seem
maybe
fair.
that's why they chose me.
Yeah, that doesn't seem fair, but you were probably the youngest, right? Like,
Yeah.
yeah.
And after the training, everyone went alone to the room with Dvoretsky, and he was saying what you have to improve. And basically, for me, he said, okay, you need to improve everything. Just anything you study, you need to improve your calculation, your strategy, your everything, your end games. Okay, so still I have a lot of work to do, and I still can improve a lot. So it was good. It was a great experience, I think.
Now, as an 18-year-old kid, you know, the best in your age by far, you know, youngest Brazilian Grandmaster at the time. Like, some kids would be like, why is this old guy telling me I'm terrible? Some kids would take it constructively. Where did you fall on that spectrum?
I think at the moment it was a bit hard, but like I didn't care so much, and afterwards I was thinking, because okay, he didn't say only this, he elaborated on the things I had to study, so I thought it was good. I was happy with the insight.
Okay, that's a good attitude. And did he tell you what to study or how to study it, or just kind of give you a list?
Yeah, it was more like a list, but I'm not sure I asked also like how to.
Yeah, that's understandable. And do you have a favorite player, Alexander?
Yeah, I think my favorite player by far is Tao.
Okay, not surprising based on what you said about your playing style.
And I love his books too. His book on Tao Life and Games is great, and the match against Botvinnik in 60. They are two of my favorite books. So this is my favorite player, I think, by far. And I should mention my second kind of player would be Kasparian. Kasparian is great, but then not so much from his games, but the studies.
Yeah. Just this is the author of Domination, which Alexander referenced.
There was a Spanish book called Finales Artísticos with artistic endgames that was from him too, and was also a great book.
So you're obviously, in my book, I talk about how useful endgame studies are as a study method. It seems pretty clear that they were a big part of your training.
Yeah, it was. Well, first of all, it was my greatest inspiration, no? To see that chess is so much more than what you think, no? Like every end game with so few pieces, you're able to see some magic happening, no? And it was always mind-blowing. All these problems, all these beautiful problems, they're mind-blowing. And so much that nowadays, when I have time, I make some short videos on Facebook and Instagram about some studies that I used to like when I was a kid.
Yeah, I saw that. Yeah, that's really cool to hear. But I'm curious because a lot of those studies, like even for a player of your level, you can't get them instantly, you know, but you describe yourself as often moving instantly. So when you were solving those as a kid and, you know, if you approach one now, are you able to sit there for 20 minutes and try to work out every variation? Do you have the patience in that sense?
Yes. I still like a lot to try to solve studies, and sometimes, for example, Piorun, which is a fantastic solver from Poland.
Yeah.
He sent me from nowhere. He sends me a position, and then I stay there like 20, 30 minutes trying to solve it, and it's usually something amazing going on. So yeah, I still like to just sit there and try to solve. I think it's much more fun than to solve like tactics from chess tempo, but unfortunately I think chess tempo is a bit more useful but
Oh, really?
both are great.
You do think so?
Yeah, I try to do it not daily because I'm not disciplined, but I try to make time to time chess tempo, and it's less fun because it's real games, and sometimes the way to win is not beautiful at all. But well, different styles. In both cases, the important thing is that you need to be precise. You need to find like the only way, and you need to look for your opponent's resources. No, so it helps a lot. Mainly the studies, it helps a lot to see that your opponent can also find some beautiful tricks, and you should be aware of it in a game.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, it's interesting to hear that even at your level, you're still solving tactics on chess tempo. It's yeah, definitely good for us us mortals to hear. So, do you have a favorite game or a favorite tournament? Like, what do you recall most fondly from your chess career? What's your fondest memory?
Well, about game, by far it's a game against Joseph Ryan. I think it's from Ireland, and he's a 2200. But it was a great game. I sacrificed 2 pieces and bring his king from e8 to g5, g4, h3.
Oh,
but
quickly played through that game today. Yeah.
yeah, and even after this, the position is still not clear. There's so much going on, and the way that I missed that it was the way to win was just fantastic. So it's my favorite game. I have a quite nice game against Akopia in Dubai Open too, but it was a different style. It was more like domination style. And about tournament, well, a couple of tournaments where I had really good memories. I think first one is Pan American Championship under 10 in '96. Is the first Pan American Championship I won, and in the last round, I blundered a piece in the opening, so I had to find a way out from it, and I finished the game. I signed the score sheet. I left the playing hall, and I just started to run like crazy, happy. What else? The first time I qualified for the Olympiad was interesting because it was a pre-Olympic tournament. It was a qualifier. Second place in the World Championship under 10 was quite good too. Many tournaments, some Brazilian championships. A lot of good memories from this year.
Yeah, I bet. Yeah, and there's nothing like, it's like it's hard to compete with the memories from your childhood. They're so formative that whatever you achieve as an adult, it can't have the same imprint. And Alexander, when you go to these tournaments, obviously you're super busy, especially with some 2 games per day. But do you do any sightseeing? Do you see the places that you go, or make extra time at all?
I'm a very lazy tourist. Well, I try nowadays. I think I try a bit more to see something in the city, but yeah, usually no. Usually I'm just in the tournament, and when I'm not playing, I'm listening a lot of music and relaxing. But yeah, I should do more sightseeing. For example, now we played the zonal championship in Machu Picchu, and I didn't go to Machu Picchu.
Oh wow!
So, but I believe I will be back there at some point in my life, and then I can see what's going on.
Yeah, I don't know. You're what, 37, 38? How old are you?
Yeah, 37 now.
Yeah, you're 37. I'm 48. And I used to travel a lot, and I would say, oh, I'll be back there. And now I'm 48, and there are a lot of places where I'm like, I don't know if I'm going to be back there after all.
But then maybe they were not worth it.
Yeah, I guess that could be as well. And you mentioned music. What kind of music are you into?
Well, I love mostly... Well, I listen all kinds of musics, but I have a special preference of rock from 70s, 80s. So a lot of Led Zeppelin, Pink Floyd, The Doors, The Who.
Awesome.
This kind of stuff.
Yeah. Do you ever try to go to concerts, or? I mean, a lot of those bands aren't touring anymore, but.
Well, that's one problem.
Or you don't want to see them if they are. Sorry, go ahead.
I did go to Bob Dylan and Mark Knopfler. I saw Pete Townshend from the Who. But in Brazil, usually it's so expensive to go to this kind of concerts. These ones I saw in London when I was traveling there, and it was a great experience. Last year, I think it was last year, I have a big problem to remember when I played the tournaments. I can remember a lot of openings, but I don't know if a tournament I played was last year or 3 years ago. For me, it's all
That's
at the
good to hear
same.
because that's another thing. The grandmasters, I'm always like, how do you do that? They know the venue and the year immediately, and I'm more like you. I know I can tell you if you ask me like what happened on such and like you went to such and such concert. Tell me about that concert. I can tell you about it, but I can't tell you when it is without thinking about it for or when it was without thinking about it for like 5 minutes. Um, anyway.
So I think it was last year. I bought some really expensive tickets to go to Roger Waters.
Oh wow.
And in the last moment, I was one of the last invited to play the Grand Swiss. And then I could not go.
Oh bummer.
And I lost this ticket.
You couldn't sell it.
Yeah, no, I could not.
Okay.
So, but okay, it was for a good reason.
Yeah.
I did it terribly in the tournament, but still, it was worth it.
Okay, that again shows a good attitude. So we're recording this in June, as you mentioned. You've got the World Cup for sure, around late October, early November. What else do you have on your calendar for this year, Alexander?
Well, let's see. I play a tournament, a Rapid and Blitz tournament in Campo Mourão. It's a small town in the south of Brazil next week. And then in the other week, there is a big open in Caiobá, in the beach in the south too. This one, it has like, I don't know, 15 Grandmasters, maybe close to 20. But it's quite a strong tournament and a really nice one in a beautiful place. After this, I might play a Rapid tournament in Moscow, but it's very unclear, very, very unclear. But I have the Portuguese League. Portuguese League is quite nice in July, and I play an Open in Portugal too afterwards. August, I have a Rapid tournament in the center of Brazil, followed by a tournament in the north, in one of the hottest cities in Brazil. It will be very hard because I don't like hot weather. I'm more like the city I am right now, that yesterday was 3 degrees.
Oh wow.
Which is rare for Brazil.
Yeah.
October I have Manaus in the rainforest, and the World Cup. November the team championship in the south, Brazilian championship in beginning of December, and I always find something to do in the end of December. So January I have Floripa Open. More or less that's it for the moment.
Okay, I mean that's a lot to have planned, and also it sounds like aside from the league and the tournament in Portugal, you'll mostly be able to stay in Brazil for the coming months.
Yeah. It's still traveling a lot inside of Brazil, and things are not so close here. For example, to reach Manaus, it's at least from São Paulo, I think it's 4 hours flight, maybe 4 hours 30.
Wow.
So even inside Brazil, you can travel a lot.
Yeah.
But mostly staying in Brazil for the rest of the year, except for a tournament or two.
I'm sure that's a welcome break. And do you feel like, again, because what amazes me always is just how often you play. Do you feel like you're still going strong? Like, is there any end in sight, or are you full pedal to the metal for the coming years?
Yeah, I think it's still we are not close to the end of it. So at least 5 more years I can go the same rhythm, and then I can think about what to do. Well, this is my passion. I like to play tournaments. I like to play chess more than to do other things with chess. If I'm able to do it and I'm getting some money from it, I don't see why to change.
Yeah, well, I'll look forward to 5 more years of rooting for you, watching your tournaments from the comfort of my home. And Alexander, I'm sure you get asked for chess advice all the time, even though it sounds like you don't do all that much coaching yourself. What is your stock advice? What do you tell people when they ask you how to get better at chess?
Well, you have to enjoy it first. I think that's the most important thing. If you're enjoying chess, doesn't matter much what you do. And okay, if you want to improve, then for most of the people, even at my level, I think it's all about tactics. This is by far the most important thing. To be able to see that you're not hanging your rook on the next move, it's important for me. It's important for the guy who has 1,000 of rating and he's playing on chess.com or on Lichess. It's all the same for everybody. You should. The most important thing in chess is to be able to not blunder your pieces, I believe.
Yeah. I mean, yeah.
All the rest you can work out somehow. But if you lose a piece, then it's much harder to keep the game going.
Yeah, it's so simple yet so true. And one other thing I wanted to ask you, again, someone who plays so much, you mentioned you preserve energy by playing faster, but do you do anything fitness-wise? Do you play any sports or anything like that?
Well, again, it's hard for me to do anything all the time because I'm traveling so much, no? But when I'm at home, I'm going to the gym and I'm trying to run a bit too, this kind of things. But this is kind of recent. I'm trying to get in a better shape in these last years. But no, during the tournament, it's complicated. No, you have to find something that you can do or in the hotel, or sometimes you can try to run around and do things, but with double rounds and thinking about the game, it's much harder. No, I think usually in on the average, the chess player life is not so healthy. Let's say.
Yeah.
I think it's important that you try to eat healthy, but it's the same thing that we said about the engine. I know that I should eat healthy,
Right.
but on the tournament. For me, it's really hard to make decisions outside chess when I'm in the tournament. So to decide what to eat and to try to think to eat healthy, it's not easy.
Yeah, yeah. Totally relatable and understandable. Well, Alexandr, this has been awesome. Really appreciate you taking the time. I'm an even bigger fan of yours after chatting with you than before. You already gave your stock chess advice, but do you have any closing words? I should mention people can follow you on Instagram and Facebook, but anything else to add before we say goodbye?
Yeah, I think if people don't know my social networks, they should try to follow. Most of the things are in Portuguese, but nowadays with the internet is not such a problem anymore. No, it's so easy to translate things. All the tournaments I try to post some things and about the trips and sometimes some chess studies. So it's nice if people can follow me. I also follow Imperial, that they are my sponsor. So they're really good. They have really good content on Twitch and Instagram and Twitter, this kind of stuff. And well, thank you for inviting me. It was a really pleasant conversation. I'm a person that don't talk too much, but today I was feeling good, so I think I talked a bit more.
I'm glad I called.
And I was talking about something that I like and love, so it's much easier now.
Yeah, your passion really comes across, and I'm glad I caught you on a good day.
Yeah, that's good.
But okay, well, good luck in the World Cup and everything else. And thank you, Alexandr. It's been a pleasure.
Thank you. See you.
Okay, take care. Okay.